Mike, this is what Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson shows up, everybody makes money, Jake Paul is, I don't have to tell you guys, you guys know, Mike Tyson is the A++++ side of that thing.
Dana White has swiftly shut down Jake Paul, comparing his latest antics to one of his cringeworthy YouTube pranks. The UFC president wasn't buying into the hype surrounding Paul's rumored fight with Mike Tyson, dismissing it as staged from the start. According to White,
and he was right.
The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script.
How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It just...
Tyson, a boxing legend, has no need for such a spectacle. He doesn't need the paycheck, the drama, or the risk of trading blows with someone who might have learned boxing through Google searches. Despite
Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people, because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him compete.
Dana's skepticism, Jake pushed for the match, but now the truth is out. White has spilled major tea, revealing that the so-called fight was more scripted than one of Paul's TikTok apology videos. Fans suspected something fishy, but Dana's insider...
Mike Tyson, Jake Paul was scripted. That was a scripted fight. It was blatantly obvious. Go watch Mike train. And John Jones is an absolute problem. Problem. The scariest man on the planet.
You honestly think this kid's going to do anything to me? He's not good. He's not going to me out. He's not going to do this. And you saw him. He tripped when he was walking down the thing. He had a hard time walking up the stairs. He had a knee brace on. And Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him.
Knowledge confirms their doubts. From the beginning, he described the matchup as a circus act, unworthy of the boxing ring. Tyson's legacy deserves better than a sideshow, and White made it clear he wouldn't entertain the idea of legitimizing Jake's antics in any way. Dana White didn't hold back, going full scorched earth as he tore into the Jake Paul spectacle, calling it a complete farce. Can you blame him? When a 57-year-old...
He's not going to knock me out. He's not going to do this. And you saw him. He tripped when he was walking down the thing. He had a hard time walking up the stairs. He had a knee brace on. And Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. He made a ton of money. And I know people are mad. You stayed home on a Saturday night, but you didn't pay for it. You know what I mean? And, Mike, this is what Mike Tyson... When Mike Tyson shows up, everybody makes money. Jake Paul is... I don't have to tell you guys. You guys know Mike Tyson is the A+++ side of that thing, and he was right. Jake Paul couldn't do shit to him.
Mike Tyson, with creaky knees and a knee brace, still outclasses a self-proclaimed future of boxing. There's not much to celebrate. White's disdain was anything but subtle. He didn't just question Jake Paul's boxing prowess; he outright dismissed it. To Dana, the so-called fight wasn't a display of skill, but a cringe-worthy reminder that Jake's career is built on gimmicks, not grit. As always, Dana didn't mince words. He made it crystal clear that boxing deserves better than this overhyped train wreck. Jake Paul isn't exactly known for taking the hard road either. His playbook revolved...
So you're saying that it was scripted because Tyson trained really hard, but then was like throwing the fight in the ring?
The way Tyson trained, the way he looked, the way he moved.
Training it and fighting, though. Training it and fighting. I can get on board. I don't want to use the term scripted. Here's what my takeaway was after watching the fight. And it reminded me a little bit of Mayweather-Pacquiao from a few years ago when we didn't get them in...
...revolves around cherry-picking opponents who generate headlines, not legitimate competition. White has long been one of Jake's harshest critics, but this time he left no stone unturned. To Dana, Jake isn't a fighter, he's a marketer. A talented one, sure, but that doesn't make him a boxer. The Mike Tyson match marked the peak of Jake Paul's absurdity, a spectacle Dana White wasted no time tearing apart. To Dana, the fight was...
Jake Paul saying he was banned from all UFC events and then put the costume on?
Yeah, nobody's banned from the UFC. Listen, that kid knows how to market and do his thing and, all that good shit. But, yeah, no, Jake Paul's welcome to come to UFC.
Yeah, no, he's just saying that to make it seem like I wasn't banned, but definitely has sent an email to me saying I'm trespassed from all UFC events and I'm not welcome back, etc. Of course, Dana doing what he does best, which is lie.
Just more proof that Jake prioritizes entertainment over authenticity. Why face someone your age and weight class when you can call out a 57-year-old icon? Let's be real, Tyson wasn't in peak condition. Despite his age and physical limitations, the legendary boxer still exposed Jake's glaring lack of skill. For Jake, this wasn't a victory, it was an embarrassment. Mike Tyson may no longer be the ferocious knockout artist of the 1980s, but even at 57, he's no slouch. His technique, despite limited mobility, was leagues ahead of Jake's. Watching Tyson dominate key moments of the fight served as a reminder that experience and skill
You see some of these crossover fights. Obviously, I know that you and Jake Paul have had your disagreements. Do you think that Jake's gotten better as a boxer?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, what Jake Paul has accomplished is he's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money. So he's doing his thing, you know.
You just don't see it as a sustainable thing.
He fought Tommy Fury and lost. Where's that rematch? Where's that rematch?
I don't know where it's at. I know he's fighting a 57-year-old champ now. What's
58.
58. Don't want to take a year away from you, Mike.
He's fighting a guy that's almost 60 years old. And you know what I mean? I mean, that says it all. That says it all. There's nothing else that needs to be said. That's his shtick. That's his thing. He fights guys that are old, usually undersized guys, older, undersized guys.
Outweighs social media clout. Dana didn't hold back in mocking the absurdity of the matchup. Tyson, who probably spends more time icing his knees than training, still managed to control the fight. Meanwhile, Jake struggled to land anything meaningful. If this fight was meant to cement Jake as a legitimate boxer, it backfired spectacularly, highlighting how far he is from being a serious contender. Dana White.
Tyson was right, and I was wrong. You know, you guys know the whole story about Shark Week, and you know, if you don't, I begged him not to do the Roy Jones fight. You're too old. I love you. I don't want to see you take any more punishment. So I set him up on Shark Week. He got paid good money, and he's like, you. So he almost flipped out the last day and was ready to kill everybody on the boat because he had to jump in with all these sharks.
A staunch defender of combat sports, saw the bout as a symptom of a larger problem. To him, Jake Paul represents everything wrong with modern boxing. It's become a playground for influencers and entertainers, sidelining real athletes. Dana didn't just criticize the fight, he used it as a case study in how to destroy a sport's credibility. Dana White likened Jake Paul's boxing career to a reality TV show, scripted, shallow, and laser-focused on creating viral moments.
I'm about to sneak in to the Sphere. 2 years ago, I was banned from all UFC events by Dana.
It's not about skill or dedication, it's about how many people you can get to click buy on pay-per-view. Except this time, even pay-per-view wasn't in the equation. The fight aired on Netflix, a platform more associated with binge-watching sitcoms than showcasing boxing royalty.
Tyson here, and him and Tyson are going to make a shitload of money,
A bunch of money.
and good for both of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good for both of them. Like I say, Jake Paul can fight. It's not like Jake Paul can't fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul just won't fight anybody.
To Dana, this wasn't just a poor decision, it was a clear sign of failure for someone who prides himself on being a major draw. Then there's Jake Paul's inflated sense of self. He's openly declared his desire to fight Canelo Alvarez, one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the world. Dana didn't just roll his eyes.
Canelo can fight real guys and keep his credibility intact and still make that kind of money. You know what I mean? Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because that you know.
He laughed Jake out of the room, calling the idea delusional hype. And he's right. Jake struggled against a 57-year-old Mike Tyson with limited mobility. Thinking he's ready for Canelo is like a middle schooler challenging LeBron James to a one-on-one. Dana was blunt. Jake needs to focus on opponents in his league instead of chasing fantasy fights. But let's be honest, that wouldn't generate the headlines Jake craves. As for what's next, Dana's verdict was crystal clear. This fight didn't just fail to elevate Jake's career, it exposed its foundation as flimsy at best, built on hype rather than substance. The hype surrounding Jake Paul's career...
Fight real guys and keep his credibility intact and still make that kind of money. You know what I mean? Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people because that
career can only take him so far. At some point, he'll need to prove himself against real competition. If the Tyson fight is any indication, he's nowhere near ready for that challenge. Jake has built an empire on controversy and viral moments, but as Dana White pointed out, that's not enough to sustain a career in boxing. The sport demands more: authenticity, skill, and a willingness to face legitimate opponents. Until Jake embraces those qualities, he'll remain what Dana has always seen him as, a showman, not a fighter. The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight will be remembered, but not for the reasons Jake hoped. It wasn't a triumph or a milestone. It was a spectacle, a messy and embarrassing one that left fans disappointed and critics like Dana White outraged. Dana's scathing critique wasn't just about Jake. It was a wake-up call for boxing as a whole. The sport deserves better than gimmicks and cheap headlines. Until Jake Paul starts respecting the sport and taking on meaningful challenges, he will remain the face of its decline. Boxing deserves real fights, real athletes, and respect for its storied legacy. Let's bring the focus back to skill, dedication, and true competition. Share your thoughts, hold influencers accountable, and support fighters who value authenticity over spectacle. It's time to stand up for the integrity of boxing.